Yo, we are here. We are live. Let me just make sure that we are logged in. We are here. Wonderful. Yo, we are here. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. For those who are joining us on YouTube, Facebook, and for those who are in the Zoom room, yo, welcome. Yo, hope your week has been going, or your weekend. Hope your weekend has been going well. It's been a little while since we have been on here live, but I'm really excited about this session today. I have some stuff that I really just want to share with you that I think can be transformational. I believe it can be transformational. And so we're tapped in, and I want to encourage you to get out a pen and paper to take notes. Obviously, we're live on Facebook and YouTube, and so you can follow along, but we're going to dive in. And I know I got some more people who are joining the Zoom room. So come on in if you are with us. Excellent. All right. So, we'll have a community where we meet every Sunday mornings, and we really dive into how can we prepare ourselves for the week. And every time we meet, before we dive into the lesson for today, every time we meet, we want to make sure that we just laid the foundation for what a successful week looks like. And so as you're thinking about this week that's coming up, obviously Thanksgiving is in a couple weeks. We got 1 week before Thanksgiving. As you're thinking about the week that's coming up, we want to give you just some steps to take to prepare yourself for this week. I'm going to give you this really quickly. It's going to take about 5 minutes for me to give it to you. And then we're going to dive into our lesson today, which is around motivation and why you might be struggling with your motivation. If you're with me in the chat, you can just give me a fire emoji, a thumbs up emoji. Would love to know that you're with me here. So whenever we start off, we always want to ask ourselves the question, when we're starting a week, what went well from last week? What didn't go well from last week? So you can see my screen. The first thing we want to do, and I want you to take 10 minutes today to do this. You always want to evaluate. So let's evaluate last week. And there's 4 questions you want to ask yourself as you're evaluating. What went well? What did not go well? What was missing? What was confusing, right? What went well? What didn't go well? What's missing? What's confusing? I want you to answer those 4 questions, evaluate last week, take the lessons and the learnings from last week, sit with them for a few minutes so that we can carry them into next week. This week starting. So the first thing we want you to do is we want you to evaluate. This is how we get ready to crush the week. This is how we accelerate our success for the week, is we have to evaluate. Don't just go from 1 week to the next week without taking time to think about what went well. Did you accomplish your goals? Did you not accomplish your goals? I think sometimes we just kind of rolling through our weeks, kind of oblivious to what's happening, not taking time to reflect. So we want to reflect, we want to evaluate. After you have evaluated, the second thing I want you to do is I want you to set your intentions. I'm going to use a different color. Second thing I want you to do is I want you to set your intentions. What are your intentions for this next week? So this is Sunday morning. Take 10 minutes today and think about your intentions for next week, right? Your intentions for next week. What do you want to accomplish? How do you want to show up? What do you want to experience this week coming up, right? So we want you to set your intentions. I might say, man, my intentions this week are to eat healthy. My intentions this week are to spend more time with my family. My intentions this week are to finish this project, but not just finish the project, but I want to finish the project with joy, with excitement, with fulfillment, right? So we want you to set your intentions. How do you intend to show up this next week, right? Great question in the chat. When you're evaluating, the 4 questions you're asking yourself are, what went right? What was right about last week? What was wrong? Or another way, we'll go that way. What was right? What was wrong? What was missing? And what was confusing? Did something happen last week that you were confused about? Let me see if I can move this over for you so that you can actually see it. There we go. right? So what went right? What went wrong? What was missing? What was confusing? Right? That's what we want. That's what we want you to answer as you're evaluating the question. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. It should make sense. Wonderful. Yes. Makes sense. Perfect. Perfect. All right. Good morning. Good morning, Simone. Glad that you're here.
Hey, good morning.
Yes. All right. So we are diving in. So we're evaluating, we're setting our intentions. After we set our intentions, the next question that we want to answer or we want to do is we want to actually determine, and let me make this a little bit smaller for you all. We want to actually determine what are your goals for the week. So after intentions, then we say, what are your goals? And your goals need to be SMART goals. You've heard this before. We've talked about it before. Specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time-bound, right? What are your goals for this week, right? So my intentions are to finish the project, to finish the proposal, to spend more time with my family, to work out more. My goal is to finish the project by Thursday at 5 o'clock, right? My goal is to finish the project by Wednesday at 2 o'clock. My goal is to spend 3 days having dinner time with the family, right? My goal. So you're taking your intentions and you're really operationalizing your intentions in specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time-bound goals. That's what we're doing, right? After you set your goals, good morning, Sam. After you set your goals, then what is the roadmap? What is the plan? Right? We go over this every week. So if my intentions are to spend more time with my family, my goal is to have dinner with them 3 times this week. The roadmap, the plan is we're going to have dinner at 5 p.m. or let's say 5:30, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This is what we're going to eat. We're going to order in. I'm going to make dinner. Like this is the actual how we're going to do it, right? If my intentions are to work out more this week and my goal is to work out 6 days this week at 6 a.m., Monday, Sunday through Friday, then the roadmap is, okay, this is exactly when, where, and how I'm going to do it, right? So if you think about your intentions answer the question of, kind of like what your goals are more specific, right? It's almost like your intentions answer the question of what and why. Your goals are even more specifically what. The roadmap answers the question of how. How and when. How are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? That's what the roadmap and the plan. After you have articulated and you've written down the roadmap, the plan, then you want to execute. And execution is where the rubber meets the road. Execution often requires support. It often requires accountability in order to execute. And we're going to dive into this accountability piece today, specifically in the teaching session. But I always like to start just kind of giving you all this framework every Sunday as we dive into it so that you can know, okay, let me take 10 minutes today. Let me walk through this process. What are my goals? Don't have 100 goals. Have like 3 goals, maybe 4, right? What are the 3 or 4 big things you're trying to accomplish this week? Maybe even less than that, maybe 2 things. Here are the really big 2 things I want to get done. Now that's obviously in addition to, everything else you have going on, but like these are the big rocks, right? Here are the big rocks for my week. And I want to make sure I'm intentional about those rocks. I'm planning around those rocks. I'm managing those rocks. I'm scheduling time around those rocks. I was meeting with my coach. I think we had a session, I think it was this last week. Maybe it was the following week. I had a session with my coach and I was sharing with him some of the challenges I'm having as far as it relates to getting my to-do list done. And he said, man, Seth, it seems like you have a You're really good with a schedule. You write out, not a schedule, you're really good with a task list. I write out everything I want to accomplish, but I don't necessarily schedule it. And so I have this long list of like 10 things I need to get done today, but I don't necessarily allocate when on my calendar, when on my schedule, I'm actually going to accomplish those 10 things. And so then that leads me to kind of like in the moment, being a little bit frantic, being a little bit overwhelmed, trying to like chicken with my head cut off activity throughout the day. And his advice to me was, let's this week, let's just test it out. When you write your to-do list, also schedule it. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about this kind of roadmap plan. When you come up with your goals and your to-do list, when are you going to get it done? What support and what accountability do you need around yourself in order to make sure it actually happens? Now, I said a lot. Let me pause. Questions, thoughts, comments. Simone, Sam, you all have heard this before. Rob, you've heard this before, right? So I love that, Chief Encouragement Officer. If there are questions in the chat, let me know. What's up, brother?
I'm on the grind, brother.
You CEO. You the CEO.
Hey, this is why I'm out on a Sunday. Some extra money.
Let's get it, man. Let's get it. Chief Encouragement Officer. I love that. And we're also live. We're also live on YouTube, Facebook. So if you need to jump off, you want to, connect there, you can also do that. Yeah. So questions, thoughts, comments. We go over this every week. We go over this. This is kind of like foundational work, right? All right. So, Simone, we're good. Sam, we're good.
I'm good. I think one question I have.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer, but and I'm thinking about setting those goals and intentions as you mentioned, but my recurring one is like the fitness goal.
Yep.
Or the running the 10K in under an hour. And I find that I kind of go back and forth. Like, how do I figure out how to improve if all I know is what I know? Does that make sense?
Improve your time, like yeah. So that would great. That's a phenomenal question. Let me just say that. So Simone is asking the question, I have a goal, a fitness goal, and I'm trying to improve my goal, my time, like I'm running, and I want to improve my time. What do I need to do in order to either run faster, run more effectively, run more efficiently, so that I can continue to improve my time? My question for you would be, have you had a running coach?
I haven't, but I don't know where to put that in my schedule.
Right. Okay, there you go. Are you a part of a running community?
I have like a Nike Run Club.
Okay.
That's kind of what I use. But no, not a specific one where like we just moved. So
Right.
too many people. But no.
Yeah. So something to think about is I was running at one point in a previous life, and I was doing like a 12-minute mile, very slow, right? It was more of a jog. And I was out of town one week for a conference, and some other guys at the conference said, hey, we're going running tomorrow morning if you want to come. And I was like, oh, sure, I run. So I joined them at 6 o'clock in the hotel lobby, and we went for a run, and they were running at a 9-minute mile. And in order for me to keep up with them, I had to run faster. And it nearly killed me because I'm used to running a 12-minute mile. But something phenomenal happened, which because I was running with them, I saw that I actually had more in the tank. And when I got back home after the conference and I went out for my run, like a 12-minute mile was no longer acceptable. I had now pushed it up to like, well, I can at least do a 10-minute. And so because I had my reference group, my reference point had increased, right, was now different. It kind of forced me to elevate my performance. And so practically, I'm wondering if you can get online, if you can Google, if you can search, maybe Facebook, maybe there's a Facebook community, a running community in your neighborhood. or in your city where they run every, let's say, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, they go for long runs. Is that a community you can possibly join?
I can look into it.
Yeah, because I think anytime we're trying to achieve a goal and we feel like we've hit our ceiling, right? If we've talked about this before, your ability to run a 10-minute mile, an 8-minute mile, a 7-minute mile, a 6-minute mile is really based off of this acronym called CASH. And CASH says, what do I need to know? What attitude do I need to have? What skills do I need to develop? What habits must I form? And so there is, what time are you currently at and what time are you trying to get to?
I'm currently at about an 11-minute mile, and
Okay.
I'm trying to get to under 10.
Okay, so there's,
To run that 10K in under an hour.
so there is a 11-minute mile cash, and then there is like, we'll say sub
You can put 9-minute 30.
9:30 minute mile. And the cash that is required to run an 11-minute mile is different than the cash required to run a 9:30 mile.
Right.
And so then the question is, okay, in order to run 9:30, what do I need to know? What do I need to know? And, or, what's the other one? Who do I need to know? So who do I need to know? Maybe someone in my community. Maybe I can call the local running store because there are running shoe stores in your community. Maybe I can call them and say, hey, are there any run clubs in the area? When do they run, right? Are there running coaches in the area? When do they run? What attitude do I need to have? What skills must I develop? What are the skills that someone who runs a 11-minute mile versus someone who runs a sub 10? And then what habits? And so we just break it down. I think for where you are, probably one of the more important ones is going to be this, who do I need to know?
Okay.
Right? So this week, what I would want you to do, maybe one of your goals for this week is to say, okay, I need to do some like discovery and like research. Are there people around me that are also preparing for marathons or half marathons or 10Ks, 5Ks? Let me find a running community, a running club, a running coach. Yes, my schedule is crazy, but you're not the only one with a crazy schedule. Maybe there are other people also who have a crazy schedule, but yet we figured out a way to navigate it, and they can assist you.
Okay. I'll add that to the goals list.
Yeah. Excellent question. So today specifically, I want to cover and I want to address, give me 1 second. Today specifically, I want to cover this idea of motivation, the big Mo. Motivation. All of us at one point or another have been motivated, demotivated. And I think motivation has, in recent years, gotten a bad rap because we feel like, well, we just don't, motivation is flimsy, and motivation comes and goes. And what's more important than motivation is discipline. And I think that there is some truth to that yeah, discipline is important, but I also think that we really need to take time to better understand what motivation really is. I have been studying this really intently for the last month and a half, 2 months. It's a part of my research, and for my PhD, I'm really studying motivation, specifically from an employee perspective, what makes some employees more motivated than others. But I have often found in my research that it is actually really applicable to everyday people outside of the workforce. That you might have a task that you're trying to accomplish, and if you don't fully understand motivation, you will not be able to fully accomplish that task. And I'm going to break it down in the next, we'll say 15 minutes. We'll spend talking about this topic. If you got questions, put them in the chat. Now, every task that you engage in has what I like to call let me use a different color. Every task has a motivation profile. Every task has a motivation profile, meaning associated with that task is a certain type of motivation. Now, for some of us, we may feel like motivation, there is a strength of motivation, meaning I either have it, I'm really, really motivated, or I'm not motivated. But motivation isn't strength-based. It's not like you can turn it up like it's the heater. You can turn it up and get a lot of motivation, or you can turn it down. There are actually different types of motivation. So motivation isn't something that is one type and it's high or low. There's actually 5 different types of motivation, and we're going to cover those. Really 4 different types, but we're going to cover those. And in covering them, I want you to think about a task that you have wanted to accomplish, you've been working to accomplish, but you feel like you haven't been motivated to accomplish. Can you put your task in the chat? I would love for you to put it in the chat. Is there something that you want to do, or maybe even mention it if you want to unmute and mention it? What's something that you want to accomplish, but you just feel like there's some resistance and you haven't really been able to go all in with it? What is it? Anything. Relaunching your podcast. Yes. Excellent. And you had a phenomenal podcast. Relaunching your podcast. So you relaunching your podcast, there is a motivation profile associated with that. And at the lowest level of this motivation profile, there are 5 levels. Level 1, we call level 1, starting your clothing line. Wonderful. So we call level 1, and you've heard of this term, we call it external motivation. And external motivation essentially says that I am only going to do this thing if someone tells me to do it. Like, I am not motivated to do it at all. Like me telling my daughters to clean their room, right? No motivation. The moment the authority leaves, the action stops. The moment the authority leaves, the action stops. That's level 1. External motivation. It is motivation that is based on pressure. It's driven by fear. It's driven by consequences. It's driven by outside demands. So I have to get this report done. I don't want to do the report. I have to get this report done. If I don't get the report done, I'm going to get written up. I'm going to get fired. I'm not going to get my bonus. That's external motivation. And all of us are familiar with that. If you are engaged in a task that has a level 1 motivation profile, what inevitably has to happen is discipline has to be at 100%. So in order for me to get the task done, I have to manifest like the drive and the willingness and the ability to sit down and to do that work is a result of 100% fear-based discipline or consequence-based discipline. This motivation can work. Level 1 can move you, but it's short-term and it's unsustainable. Short-term, unsustainable. Level 2. I feel like I should have used a different color. Level 2. This level of motivation is based off of internal rewards. Well, more, I don't want to say internal rewards. It's more so like perks, external rewards, like praise, like you're doing it because, you're looking for a congratulations. So we'll say it's external, but it's not pressure-based or fear-based. It's external, but it is reward-based. To simply mean that the reason I'm doing this is, man, I want to do this because I want everyone to stand up and give me a round of applause. I want everyone to be able to say, wow, look at what you've done. I want the bonus. I want the perks. I want the recognition. I want all of those things that come with me accomplishing this task. Does this make sense? Let me stop. Give me a thumbs up if it makes sense, if you're with me. Yes. All right. Yes, you're with me. All right. That's level 2. So think about a task that you're currently engaged in, and you can say to yourself, what is the driving force behind this? So how do I label this in my notes? So this would be external reward based. This one here is external let's say fear-based. External reward-based, external fear-based. That makes sense. That should make sense. Level 3. What is level 3? Level 3 says, I'm doing something because it's internal. We are on level 2, correct. Level 3 says it's internal and it is value-based. So I'm going to eat my broccoli because I recognize that there is value in eating broccoli. I'm going to work out because I recognize there is value in working out. I'm going to do this because I recognize there's value in this activity. So there's value. It's internal. No one's making you do it. Level 3, no one's making you do it. It's internal, but the internal is based solely on the value you have attached to the task. So this morning I got up and I worked out because I said, well, there's value in working out. Like I need to do it. I'm going to be healthier, right? There's value in me saving my money. There's value in me budgeting. I don't want to do it, but I know there's value in it. I should do it. It's really I ought to based motivation. So there are some tasks, and you might say, okay, someone said, there are many. Learning the piano, learning guitar, right? Spanish, doing your clothing line. For some of you, you might say, man, I'm practicing this piano, or I'm learning the guitar, or I'm starting my clothing line, or I am going to start my podcast because there's value in it. And for some of us, that is a motivation profile. However, while discipline may not necessarily be required at 100%, even for a level 3, you need at least like 75% of you doing the thing is going to be driven by discipline. For level 2, it might be like 90% driven by discipline. For level 1, it's 100% driven by discipline. And when I say 100%, uh-oh. When I say 100%, this is what I mean. That every task, there is a motivation to discipline, D-I-S, how do you spell it? Discipline ratio. A motivation to discipline ratio. And it might be 10% motivation, 90% discipline. It might be 90% motivation, 10% discipline. It might be 50% motivation, 50% discipline. But there's going to be a motivation to discipline ratio. And that's what we talk about, this motivation profile. And the lower you are on the levels, the higher the level, the higher the discipline is needed in order for you to engage in that task consistently over time. And the goal, though, is not to stay at level 1, because level 1 and level 2 and level 3 are short term. They're largely based off of fear, rewards, or how you feel. Level 3 is when you really get into the, well, I'm not being punished if I don't do it, and I'm not going to be rewarded publicly if I do it. So level 3 is really based off of your feelings in the moment. And your feelings in the moment are going to be influenced by how much discipline you have in the moment. So you put me in front of a box of donuts, I might know, man, I know I shouldn't eat the donuts, or at least I shouldn't eat all the donuts, but I'm really feeling, I had a rough day. I feel sad. I had a bad day. You know, I got into it with an argument with my boss or with my spouse or with my kids, right? And so now my emotions and my motivation is low. Discipline is not there to save me. I feel like I want to do this, and so I eat, 5 donuts. Or I binge watch something, or I engage in some sabotaging behavior that is going to prevent me from truly accomplishing my goal. Because level 3 is where a lot of people fail. And level 1 and level 2 are really like work-based goals, right? So I'm going to do a good job of my work because I want the bonus, or I'm going to do a good job of my work because I don't want to get fired. Level 3 is when you start to enter into the realm of personal goals. No one's going to reward you. No one's going to fire you. Simone, you want to run a sub 10 marathon, half marathon, 10K, right? You're not going to get fired if you don't do that. You're not going to get, a big standing ovation, if you do that, right? You're not running, to go to the Olympics, maybe not yet. So for you, it might be a level 3 goal. The motivation profile might be level 3, which is truly, I see value in exercising. And so the exercise I'm choosing to engage in is running. And so I run, not because I necessarily love running and not because I necessarily like running, but I run because there's value in exercise. However, if I wake up tomorrow morning and I don't feel like running, maybe it's raining outside, maybe it's a little cold, if I can't tap into discipline and accomplish that task via discipline, I'm not going to run. So that's level 3. Level 4. Let me know if you got any questions. Level 4. Level 4 is when you engage. Level 4 is when you engage in the activity because there is a identification with. It's internal. Let me say it like this. So for your notes, Internal identification. Level 4. Internal identification. What does that mean? Internal identification. It simply means I see myself as a runner, therefore I run. I identify with the task I am engaging in. I see myself as a healthy eater, therefore I eat broccoli. I don't eat donuts. And you can present me with a box of donuts, and even if I had a bad day, y'all, I'm testifying actually. Even if I had a bad day, I'm not going to eat the donuts because I see myself as a healthy person who does not eat donuts. Or at least not, overindulge in donuts. So whatever the task is, there is an internal identification that I have with that task. This is level 4. Does it require any discipline? Yes, it does. Maybe 50% motivation, 50% discipline. I still have to say no to the donuts. And there may be some times when I'm like, man, I really love a donut right now, right? So it's not second nature, but it requires less discipline because my identity is supporting the activity I'm engaging in, and my identity is driving my motivation profile. Simone, if I can answer that question, I would be a billionaire if I could answer that question. She put in the chat, how do you help kids or others move through these levels? I'm gonna try to answer it today for you. So, level 1, external fear-based. Level 2, internal reward-based. Level 3, internal value-based. Level 4, internal identification. So, Miss Sheila, if you say to yourself, I am a piano player, and you identify as a piano player, you will do what piano players do, which is practice the piano. Does it require some discipline? Yeah, it requires some discipline, but not 100% discipline. Why? Because you've identified as a piano player. Sam, thinking about starting your podcast over, right? If it's only level 3, then you're only going to launch your podcast when you feel like it. And that feeling is going to fluctuate based off of what's happening on my job, what's happening in my family, what's happening with everything else, right? Do I feel like it? Are people going to listen to it? Are people, and then if you launch the podcast and no one listens to it, you don't get good reviews, or let's say you don't get a lot of views on it, then you're like, oh, I don't know if I should do this, right? And you don't, and then you abort the podcast because your feelings are driving whether or not you're motivated to do that thing, rather than your identity driving whether or not you do it. But if you can say to yourself, I am a podcaster. I'm a podcaster. I am someone who uses my voice and my interview skills to help other people accomplish blank. And I do that through podcasting and interviewing, and you have embraced that as an identity, then there will be less resistance to engaging in that activity. That's level 4. Any questions about level 4? Any questions? Level 4 is like where if you can get to level 4, you're going places. Yes. The identity level is where empowerment comes. So you have to start telling yourself, whatever your goal is, you have to start connecting that goal to your identity. This is why it's so dangerous to be on social media. Because what happens when you're on social media is you see, this is you, and you looking out and you see someone else accomplishing a goal, and they got this crown, they've worked out, they've lost weight, they've started their business, they've launched their podcast, it's successful, they're on vacation, they're doing all these things. And you look at them and you say, oh, wow, look at what they're doing. I would love to do something like that. So you use them as your reference point, and you start going after the goals that you think will allow you to experience whatever they're experiencing. All that does is put you at level 3. And maybe even level 2, because you're looking for, you want that external validation once you reach it. And so you might start the podcast, start the things, do the task, because you see other people doing it and you're inspired, and there's nothing wrong with being inspired. But if it doesn't get to level 4 where it now is a part of who you are, you're gonna have to white knuckle it and grin and bear it. It's going to be a uphill journey. Level 5. Level 5 is the apex of motivation. And this is where identification is coupled with internal identification plus love, enjoyment, satisfaction. Level 5 is when you reach what we call intrinsic motivation. And intrinsic motivation is the highest level of motivation. And it's where you do something, you're engaging in something because you intrinsically, purely love the act of doing it. I love doing this. I go to the gym and work out, not because someone's making me, not because the doctor said, Seth, if you don't lose 30 pounds, you're going to have diabetes and then we're going to have to amputate your leg, right? Not because I'm going to stand on a stage as a competitive fitness model, right? That's external reward base. Not because I see the value in it and I want to live life and be able to walk my daughters down the aisle. Not because I identify as someone who works out, but because I truly enjoy lifting heavy weight. It's where you practice the piano because you just love piano. It's where you launch your podcast and you're interviewing people because you love doing that work. You love connecting with people. It's where you are engaged in learning Spanish because you love the Spanish language and you love the idea of learning and growing and expanding your vocabulary and expanding your linguistic ability. You love being able to surprise people when you walk into a Spanish market or a Spanish restaurant as a black person or as a white person, and being able to, not only understand, but to communicate to people in their native language. You just love it. Now, does this require discipline? Yes, it requires discipline. But the motivation profile, the ratio is like 70% motivation, 30% discipline. There are some times where it's like, man, it was cold this morning and I had to, it took me a little bit and it was early. It was like 5:30 in the morning. I got up and I was like, man, okay, got to go to the gym. It took me a little bit to get out of bed, but I wasn't relying on 100% discipline. I wasn't drudging it. I was not drudging it. I was like, yeah, I mean, I gotta, once I get up out the bed, now I'm like, yo, let's go. I can't wait to put the weight on the bar and to lift the weights. I can't wait to get out there and do a run. Yeah, I mean, it's cold and I would rather lay in my bed, but But the joy of running, Simone, is greater than the satisfaction of staying in bed. And so it doesn't take much for me to get out of bed. And people will look at you and say, man, how is it that you go running? You're running out there in the rain, you got your poncho on and you're running. And they don't understand that you're doing it because you love it. I just love this. I love the work. So if there is a task that you are struggling with, a goal that you want to pursue, that you haven't been able to figure out how to pursue it, what I want you to do is evaluate where that task is currently sitting on the motivation profile. Is it level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, or is it level 5? And if it is not level 4 and above, what we then have to do, and I'm going to try to answer your question, Simone. What we then have to do is we have to try to reframe the task. I tell my kids all the time, listen, you need to clean your room. Clean your room. Right now, them cleaning their room is level 1. They know it goes between level 1 and level 2. If they don't clean their room, they're not going to Pathfinders or whatever they want to do, right? You're not going out, right? If you don't clean your room. If you clean your room consistently, you might get allowance. I'll give you $5 if you keep your room clean for a week, right? So right now, for them, it's purely external. To get them to level 3, level 4 is I have to one, show my daughters the value in a clean room. So I might help them clean their room. And then I sit back and I say, man, how do you feel? Does that feel good having a clean room? Yeah, Dad, it does feel good having a clean room. So what have I just done? I have begun to raise their motivation profile so that now they see the value in having a clean room. Wow, when you have a clean room, you can come in, you can find your clothes. You're not spending time looking for stuff that you misplaced, right? You know what's clean, what's dirty. Your clothes are organized. It's very easy to get dressed in the morning because you're not shuffling through clothes and you're not frantic. And so I'm showing them the value of and the benefits of having a clean room. From there, I then want to help them ingrain a cleanliness as a part of who they are. And so I start speaking over them. Man, you are just a clean person. Even though they may not be a clean person, they may not be a clean person, but I'm telling them they are a clean person. Why? Because I'm trying to cement into their mind an identity of cleanliness. Man, you were just a clean person. I love how you always tidy up after yourself and how you always help clean up around the house. And through that journey, I'm trying to shape them and move them to level 5. Now, I'm still working on it. Pray for me. We're still at level 1, level 2, but that's the journey. And I think the same principle applies to you and me. The same principle applies to us. And that is simply, man, okay, piano, I have to tell myself, you know what? There is value in growing. I want to have a learning orientation. I want to have a learning, embrace a learning orientation where I enjoy learning new things. So I'm going to teach myself the piano, and then maybe I'm going to go all in for 3 months. How much piano can I learn in 3 months? How much Spanish can I learn in 3 months? How many interviews for my podcast can I do in 3 months? I'm not committing to it for the rest of my life. I want to test it out. And I start to tell myself there's value in this. I see the value in this. And now I want to start speaking it over myself. Seth, you are someone you are a piano player. When someone asks you, hey, what do you do for a living? Or what do you do for fun? Man, I'm a piano player. Oh, really? What do you play? Well, I've learned this and I've learned this and I'm still working on this. And I'm starting to integrate the task with my identity. Studies have been done around this, specifically in the realm of smoking cessation. And what they have found is that individuals, one of the best mechanisms to get someone to stop smoking is to help that person embrace a non-smoker identity. And so what they've told people to do in studies, they've taken two groups and they've said, we want you, group one, to just tell yourself that you are not a smoker. Even when you're out there smoking and you're smoking on the cigarettes, or you're smoking cigars, whatever you're smoking, even while you're smoking, we want you to look at the cigarette and say, I might be smoking right now, but I am not a smoker. And if you can just continue to tell yourself you are not a smoker, even while you're smoking, that is dissonance. Your behavior and your mind are not aligned. And what inevitably is going to happen is you will either stop telling yourself you're not a smoker, or you will stop smoking. Because your body wants harmony, it wants equilibrium, it wants alignment. And so if I tell myself I'm a piano player, either I'm going to start playing the piano or I'm going to stop telling myself I'm a piano player. But if I can commit to embracing that identity, even when I feel like I'm not doing it or I'm not it, over time, my behavior and my habits and my daily commitments will line up with what I'm telling myself I am. Gigi, we're with you. Motivation has been a factor in consistency. Discipline comes. Yes, discipline should always come second. I'm not like saying discipline doesn't mean anything, but discipline should always come second. So what I want you to do as you go into this week, if you got questions, you can throw them in the chat, unmute, let me know if this is helpful or not. What I want you to do is, and congratulations, Gigi, right? Stopped smoking 8 years ago. Praise God, right? Your future self is thanking you and your current self. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about the current task that the goals that you have for yourself. Think about the current goals you have for yourself. And do an assessment on what level the pursuant of that goal is currently operating at. What is the motivation profile of that goal? What's the motivation profile of the goal? Also, I want you to think about what is the motivation to discipline ratio? What is the motivation to discipline ratio? And if you are below a level 4, we're going to draw a hard line at level 4, right? If you're below level 4, I want you to start to embrace declarations around your identity concerning that thing that you are pursuing. Start telling yourself, I speak Spanish fluently. I am a piano player. I am a podcaster, right? Not, I just have a little side hobby. No, I am a podcaster. This is what I do, right? I am a runner. I run. And I am someone who runs a sub 9-minute mile or 10-minute mile. This is what I do. And as you tell yourself that, you are increasing your motivation profile and going from level 1 ultimately to level 5. All right. Questions, thoughts, comments. A to the men, Miss Sheila. Love that. Love that, love that. You can't see it there. Maybe if I change this. She was praying for focus. And man, the Lord sent her. She got my text message, and here we are. So amen. Praise God. Praise God, praise God. Questions, thoughts, comments. I know we're at time. All right. To those who are on the Zoom, if you got any questions, hit me, text me, email me. To those who are on Line, YouTube, Facebook, Thank you so much for journeying with us today. I hope this was encouraging and maybe enlightening and edifying and kind of like helped you think about it differently. There's an old quote that I firmly live by. It says, "Give me an idea that stretches my mind and it will never return to its original shape." And that's what we're striving to do here through our Accelerate group coaching, is to give ideas that will stretch your brain, that will stretch your mind. And after that stretch, your brain will never return to its original shape. We want you to see yourself and to see life differently. And when you see it differently, you can do differently, and you can achieve the things that God has put on your heart to achieve. So thank you so much. Simone, Sam, you're good. Thumbs up. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thumbs up, yes. All right, have a wonderful week, everyone. And by the grace of God, we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.